like to play e5 against c4. And there's a chess principle that this opening idea revolves around, which is that if your opponent attacks you on the flank, as they do when they open with c4, then it's often wise to respond in the center. This is also the same principle that the Sicilian defense revolves around. And in this opening with white starting with c4 and me playing e5, it's basically like we have a Sicilian, except the colors are switched. Here I try to attack that knight so that I can maybe take on d4 after I remove the defender. He defends d4 another time. I bring my rook out. But I decide to make this move to attack his queen, and then when his queen moves and gains tempo on my knight, I decide to play a5 and try to gain some space on the queen side. Again, this principle of when your opponent this time has control of the center, you want to be attacking on the flank. I did end up bringing my knight back to c6, but knight a6 was maybe a better idea there to just commit to the queen side attack. But I brought it back more towards the center. Push that pawn forward, and he's threatening checkmate with his queen and bishop battery, so I have to block it. But my king ends up having to take back on f7. He brings this knight into the center, and around here he's got a near +4 advantage. Now here he does take that knight, which was maybe a little bit of a mistake. I take back with the pawn, and now I've got at least a little bit of pressure against his king. Here he trades rooks, which was a mistake. That brings it back to equality. He needed that pressure along the e file for his attack to remain effective, I guess. Takes the knight, I take back. So from +4 back to equal. Now here he offers another trade, which I'm happy to accept. And we enter into this queens, pawns, and opposite color bishop endgame. It's very equalish, but I decide to continue pressing him with this next move that you're going to see me make, bishop h3. Here he could have just kept repeating, just keep checking me. All I can do is move my king back and forth. If he just keeps doing that. He decides to come back with his queen, which does let me play queen f3. He gives us another check, but this one I can block, and now there's no more checks, and I'm threatening queen g2 next. So it was a very dynamic game where we both got a lot of play against the opponent's king. He could have settled for a draw there at the end, which perhaps he should have. Now here we go into the next game. We switch colors, of course, and he plays the Caro-Kann against me. I used to play the Caro-Kann as my main opening, and if you look back at videos on this channel, you'll see a lot of games for me where I was playing the Caro-Kann. A lot of Caro-Kann players, kind of the point of playing the Caro-Kann is to try to take the game into an end game and then win it at that stage of the game. So it's a great opening to play. And we end up trading knights here in a second and going for another end game. The one thing I did decide to do in this game, which I don't always do, is I castled queenside. That was just to try to keep the game a little bit imbalanced. Maybe create some more attacking chances. Here, it's a fairly easy decision for me to trade queens, open up his king, and then lift my rook. First, I'm trying to get the rooks off the board because I think my pawns are much better. Still fairly equalish here, except his king is more open than mine. My king is closer to the center. He's got those doubled F pawns, and his H pawn is isolated. So, all those things considered, that's why white has at least a small advantage according to the computer. Here he jumps into this outpost with the rook to e4. I put some pressure against the rook with my king, and you'll see what I do in a second. I play c4 to try to remove the defender of that rook, and just to create some tension on the king side also. He plays b5, which lets me do this fork. I'm attacking the d5 pawn and the h5 pawn at the same time, and the d5 pawn is also the only thing guarding his rook. So here we see a massive swing. You're guaranteed to lose material here as black. You have to be very careful what you play here. So he spends a lot of time. Ultimately pulls his rook back. I take the d pawn because now I have another fork on the b and a h pawn. So I take the h pawn when he defends the b pawn. Then he comes up, attacks my rook. I guard it. Here, I think this was a nice inclusion, that e5 move, because his f-pawn is pinned. And of course here, there's no good move, and he designs. Thanks again for watching another Charlatan Chess video. More to come. See you. Goodbye.